Let's talk more then about that announcement from the government that there will be a new board basically at Eskom that's incoming. We can speak to energy expert Hilton Trollip. Hilton, a very good evening to you. Welcome to News at Prime. Are these the first signs of redemption for Eskom and government?
Good evening. So the current Eskom board was appointed in 2018 with a chairperson, a chairman. He resigned at the beginning of the year, and we now have a chairman on a short contract, which it sounds like has been terminated, although it's not clear what the statement this morning meant. It's, we will reconstitute and decide in due course, which just creates a whole lot of uncertainty in my view. Secondly, since 2018, 7 board members or 6 board members, I think, it's difficult to keep track, have resigned, leaving in the board no engineers, and nobody with engineering industry experience. And if we think we're in trouble, this could be one of the reasons that we have a board of essentially an electrical engineering company with severe technical problems in its fleet, and nobody on the board with the necessary experience. And it's not the board members' faults that people with the right experience and qualifications aren't appointed. I really look forward to a board which is constituted with people with such skills. But most importantly, what we're looking for in South Africa is some transparency on how these boards are chosen, how they're appointed, what their performance agreements are, how they're monitored. Instead, what we get is just incoming from left field. You know, resignations, we're going to do this in due course, etc., etc. So this really, what worries me is space is being created now in a highly politicized area where increased pressure is going to be put on not possibly appointing the existing board members. We get a brand new board, I hope not, because then there'll be no continuity between the board and the executive management, the trusted relationships that have built up. And the executive management, there have been 9 chief executive officers since 2014.
Right, and just on that, Hilton, just apologies, I want to come in there, the point that you made.
Sorry, I can get quite upset about this.
No problem. Many South Africans, I would imagine, share your frustration. You make a good point about just the revolving door of chief executives, for example, is one of the major problems. And you wonder how effective a board can be without a management team that is as effective, if not more.
Absolutely. This is all issues of governance and the people at the right levels, at the various levels, doing what they should do. So in my view, the minister should appoint the board, people that are competent. They should be given clear performance parameters, and then they should be allowed to get on with doing their job. The first thing of which is to make sure that they have an executive team that they like and a CEO that they like, and to start building relationships. What you don't need is for people at ministerial level, even from other portfolios, which we've been seeing, having public spats with Eskom executive management and making technical statements, which they're not qualified to make, about what's going on in Eskom. So governance, in my view, is a mess at the SOEs. I hope it gets better. I hope what we see now from the Public Enterprises Minister, that he chooses a board. I hope there's some continuity, and I hope that it has the right mix of skills, and then I hope that they're not interfered with, and that they can work with the executive team and build the relationships of trust, get the stability going, and fix Eskom, which has been messed up by exactly this kind of chopping and changing every 5 minutes.
But if, and this is the view by many people in the public and even the political parties have echoed this, I was speaking to the Statistician General, former Statistician General, Badile Hosla, who also made a similar remark saying that, well, the current management and current board are not fit for the task because none of them possess the technical skills to fully understand the business of Eskom and what's needed to set it on the right path. So if there is to be an agreement, an arrangement, where some of them are kept on in the interest of continuity, how useful will they be if they've so far failed to arrest the situation around these power cuts?
Well, I don't know much about the ex-statistician general's knowledge about running engineering companies and whether he's qualified to actually assess the executive team. The CEO, granted, Andre de Ruyter, isn't an engineer, but he had 20 years worth of running highly technical companies for Sasol, energy companies for SAPI, big industrial organizations. So the CEO generally is somebody with multiple skills, but in his team, he would need the engineers, also the lawyers, the accountants, etc., a good mix. And without seeing what the past statistician general has got specifically to say about the Eskom executive, I can't really comment. But I don't think that people with his level of ex-seniority should be messing around inside the executive teams of SOEs. That's the board's job. The board actually, well, as it turns out, the minister, according to Eskom's articles of memorandum of incorporation, the minister has a big say also with the board in appointing the CEO. But that CEO has been appointed, and he's been in his position 2 years,
right,
the longest of any CEO since 2014. To rip that lot out and put a new group of people in there, in my view, would be a disaster.
Do you think government has, to an extent, hung this current board and management out to dry, given how even last week the Energy Minister, Gordhan was basically saying that the issue of a failure to provide power should be put, as far as blame goes, squarely on the shoulders of the people responsible for the entity itself?
They've definitely hung them out to dry, because there are two problems that we have with the electricity supply. The one is the very poor state of the Eskom fleet. Now, the current executive management inherited that fleet, and it was in a bad state when they inherited it. The current executive management also inherited an organization which had been hollowed out by corruption, by cadre deployment, by people being appointed that are incompetent, and by skills just leaving. So that's what they got. And that's with that team. And also a lot of corruption, which has been reported. With that, the team that they inherited, they've had to try and start fixing these 90 machines that are either old, the average age is 54 years old, except for Medupi and Kusile, or Medupi and Kusile, which were messed up at design phase and by contracts, which dubious, corrupt contracts. So to try and, I think government is dodging the responsibility for not putting new generation capacity onto the system. Since 2015, there's been no substantial progress in getting new capacity onto the system. And that is not Eskom's job. Eskom does not have the authority to build a new power station. That comes directly from Gordhan's department. And they've simply failed.
Hilton Trollip, energy expert. Good to have your time, sir. Thank you.